A very warm good evening to all of you. Welcome to the sixth session of CENTA's webinar series for school leaders. I hope all of you are keeping safe and staying healthy. Over the course of next 1 hour, we will focus on the role of a school leader in supporting learners with special needs. We have with us Dr. Radhika Miskita. Dr. Radhika Miskita has her doctorate in special education from the University of Texas at Austin. She is a founding member of the Gateway School of Mumbai and is currently its co principal. Dr. Radhika's interests lie in teacher professional development, building inclusive practices, and understanding what works for supporting children with disability in the Indian context. Her current projects include Fable, if I'm right, that is India's first digital curriculum-based measurement tool to assess and monitor foundational literacy skills. Welcome, Dr. Mosquita. Before we begin the session and I hand it over to you, I would like to inform all school leaders that they will receive certificates for this session. So please do fill in the feedback form at which will be shared with you at 5:45 p.m. Over to you, ma'am, and I'm going to present your screen now on the. Ma'am, you're on mute, so if you can,
Thank you,
yeah.
Simran. Hi, welcome everybody. This is my first time on this platform, and it's just like disconcerting not to be able to see any of you. Simran will tell me though if there are questions, so you can put your questions in chat. I'll be happy to answer them. Um, I'm going to take you through my experiences working for the past 10 years at the Gateway School, and with the hope that some of these will be relevant for you. So if you can start just putting in chat your role. I know there'll be some delay, but I'd like to just see who's on and uh, get a sense of what you do at your organization. So if you can just put in chat your role, that'll be great. Thank you. Um, okay, so to go ahead and start while I see the answers come in. Um, Today, my role is to talk about the topic is to talk about the role of school leaders and how we can support students with special needs. And really, this is the essence of what is needed to support students with special needs because it starts from a system. We have to have a systemic approach. Teachers can be very well intentioned and want to do, but if they don't get the support of the organization, it's very, very challenging. So today's session, we're going to be organized around a framework. This is a common leadership framework if you're familiar with leadership frameworks. um, Keeping in mind the big thing. So when I was preparing for the session, I was wondering if we needed a separate framework for for inclusive practices of goods or leaders of for students with special needs. But actually the same leadership framework will work. We're just going to tailor it to talk about how we can support students with special needs. So, three of the main things that we do as leaders is setting direction, of course, guiding that vision for the organization, human development. So, talk about how we build capacity in our organization, and then organization development as a whole. And anchoring all of this is the leadership style that we choose to adopt. All the prominent leadership styles are relevant here: transformational, distributive, and instructional. And I'll talk about each of these as we come into it. And each of these are very relevant. Excuse me, that was my daughter. It's work from home, so I don't see um, chats coming in yet. Maybe there's some delay, but in case you've just logged in, do put your role in chat. Maybe I'm missing it. Put your role in chat so that wait, I'm getting to see it. I was in the wrong window. Okay, let me take a look at this. So early years.
So I
So
think
we
a lot of them went up with
Yeah,
people also
I got
wishing good
it.
evening.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I could see a lot of
Okay.
section in charges, a lot of middle school coordinators, and a few of them are principal school leaders. So headmistress of their departments. etc. And
Yes.
yeah, we have a range from early childhood till K-12.
Great. Great. Okay. So I'm going to try. I think this should be relevant for all of you. And I see some teachers here also, and that's absolutely fine. Some may be relevant for you, some may be things that you want to take back to your organization, or maybe roles that you're going into later and that you want to share about. So, anyway, this is the framework that we're going to go with right now. These three aspects: setting direction, human development, and organizational development, and keeping in mind these leadership traits, the leadership styles that are very, very important for any leadership, and especially for working with students, with supporting students with special needs. Okay, so with that, let's start with setting direction and establishing a shared vision for all. Again, can you quickly put in chat if your organization has a vision? If you know the vision of your organization, and if you know the vision of your organization, I'd love for you just to write it out. Otherwise, you can just say, yes, my organization has a vision. Good evening. I can see some chats coming in. So while I'm talking, if you can just put the vision for your organization down, that'll be great. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead with talking about Gateway's vision. Okay, so some people I can see, some people, somebody is saying that the screen is blurry. Um, Sorry about that.
Ma'am, that is because of the quality at which
Yeah.
you are streaming. If you can put it to 720p, you will be able to view the screen. Yeah. Sorry, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. So I can see lots of people's know the vision of the organization, and many people's organization have a very clear vision, which is fantastic. It starts with setting vision. Now, when you're talking about a vision, everybody speaks that same language, the shared vision, right? So at Gateway, I will talk to you about Gateway's vision, but each of your visions can be aligned to supporting students with special needs. We want our students to lead fulfilling, productive lives and be active contributors to society. Um, what you do as a leader is every program that you do, every action that you do comes back to the vision. I see every child matters as the school vision, and that's so impactful, right? For working with all students in an inclusive setup. So everything that you do comes back to the vision, and you align your practices to the vision. And I love, and everybody's vision actually has to be aligned to supporting students with special needs, because I can see from the vision value based education, learning by doing, holistic, all of these are visions very aligned to serving all the students, and definitely students with special needs. So your responsibility as a leader is to help teachers draw that connect. When you say, when you come in with having to say, okay, should I take this child, how do I work with this child, come back to the vision and say, hey, this is our vision. Our vision says that we need to, every child matters, right? And so therefore we have to figure out how to make this work for our child. When setting the vision, another important thing that I want to bring to your attention is high expectations. um One of the criticisms that against special education, and for those of you who have working in special ed setups or who have an inclusive school, one of the criticisms that you will face is, it's called the dumbing down of curriculum. uh, can I type this in chat? No, I won't be able to. Okay, maybe Simran, if you can type this for me, dumbing down of curriculum.
Yes,
um,
I'm just typing that.
this is one of the criticisms against special education. Now, that's something to be very wary of. Once a child enters special education, most people feel that is for life, and there is no way that you can bring the child back into an inclusive setup. And that's a challenge that we face. And one of the ways to counter this, when you are setting your direction, is the uh, I can see some. Yes, thank you. Dumbing down of the curriculum is setting high expectations for all students. Now, this is very, very, very important. As a leader, I would encourage you not to develop a parallel curriculum where you have simpler objectives for your students. My suggestion is to hold all students to high expectations and then try to see how you can support. So for example, now realistically, okay, I'll talk to you about how this works. um, in our school, in the lower and the middle school, that means in the primary years and the early secondary, we do not have different curricula for anybody. We have the same curricula, but we support students to get to that goal. It's only in the high school, so when they come to the 8th, ninth grade, is when we say, okay, you know what, maybe this track is better for you, or this is better for you. But in the younger years, we hold all students to the highest expectations that we can. The way that you do this is now you're gonna one of the challenges that I often get when I say this is like, but I've got kids who can't read, how can I hold them to the same expectations? The way that you do that is with accommodations to help access the curriculum. I've just put up some of the pictures here. So you see this little girl sitting. Does anybody know where my Simran? Can my cursor be seen? I don't think so, na. Anyway, on the picture on the bottom right, you can
No,
see
the
this.
cursor cannot be seen, ma'am.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. On the picture on the bottom, a lot of background noise. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second. I hope that's better now. Okay. So, looking at this picture on the bottom right, can anybody see what is across this little girl's lap? You can put it in chat if you know what it is. Okay. That's one kind of accommodation that you can use. If nobody's sure what it's called a lap pad. Basically, what it is, it's a weighted blanket. There are several accommodations that you can use to help your students access the curriculum. So, the first takeaway I want for you, when you're setting the vision, you set high expectations for all the students, and then in order for them to reach those expectations, you make sure that you have accommodations built in that will help them get there. There are tons of accommodations that are available, um, especially with technology around. So I would highly encourage you to look up and see what your school offers. And as school leaders, to reach out, please feel free to reach out to me also for a list of accommodations. But honestly, these are available all around. You're thinking of anything that will allow your child to access the curriculum. The other thing that we do, the other thing that so somebody's written level it down. I do not encourage you to do that. I do not encourage you to bring the levels down at all. You want to bring this up. You want to have high expectations at all times. And the way that you do that, to allow students is to access them, is to give them an accommodation. um, Yes, there are. You can just Google. There are tons of accommodations. I've written down I've given you one accommodation of a lap pad over here. You can see this OT room over here. There are computer readers. There is different grips for students. There's a spell check, things like that. These are all accommodations that you should 100% make available for your students. Allow them to access the curriculum. Things like paired work really works in case you don't have technology in your school. um, the other thing that we do as leaders is, in addition to high grade level goals, you also have um, individual goals for your students. So uh, Simran, if you can type in chat, individualized education plans. These are individualized goals for your students that will help them reach their grade level goals. If you can have your counselors or your special educators work with them and you set up these, that will help you get to that vision where all students are supported. Yes. Okay. Let's go on. Yes, IEP. The other important thing I would encourage you to do as school leaders is to build in data driven decision making. So, very often we children fall through the cracks and we miss who needs support because it's too late. Um, what we need to do is build in a system where we are constantly screening students and we can capture very early if they need support. Um, I'm going to share with you some of the tools that we use at Gateway. Simran, if you can type in easy CBM. I'm sorry, I would type, but I don't know how. I can't. Thanks, Simran. Do I have a chat box also, Simran? No, right? Okay.
No.
So, easy CBM, if you can type, that's one of the screening tools that we use. And the other screening, yes, easy CBM. The other screening tool that we use that you see a picture of over here is called Fable. These are both reading tools. Easy CBM is for both reading and maths. But Easy CBM is not an Indian-based tool, so you can use it. We find it relevant. But the Indian-based tool that we use that we've developed at Gateway is called Fable, and Fable is a quick screening tool. These are just some of the tools that we use, and I'll talk to you about many others. You can look at to many others, but anything that you have that allows you to do data driven decision making. So even if you're using your own school reports, anything that you use, Simran, repeatedly people are saying the screen is blurred. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, actually, you will have to set your screen to 720p streaming quality. Otherwise, the screen might be a little blurry. Also, I don't think, ma'am, you're reading anything from these points. This is
Sorry. I'm sorry, what?
there's nothing to be read on the screen, right? You're mostly sharing what kind
No,
of data is.
yeah, they're just pictures. So, data driven decision making is the other big thing that I would encourage you as school leaders to do. At Gateway, we have an entire monitoring system. When students enter school, before anything else, at the beginning of the year, we get data points. And then we get data points at the middle of the year, and we get data points at the end of the year. And that allows for repeated progress monitoring over time. So I would highly encourage you to look into data driven decision making and pick some sort of screening tool that you pick up students early before they fail. And two of the tools that I mentioned are Easy CBM and Fable. Now this comes the reason I put Steve Jobs, although he's not in education and he's unfortunately not with us any longer, but this is where your transformational leadership comes in here. um, as a school leader, you need to set direction and inspire teachers to say, yes, this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do. And that's where I think Steve Jobs epitomizes this, right? I mean, he was such an inspirational leader, and he led about so much of innovation. You need to inspire people to your vision, to say this is what we need to do as educators. We need to serve each and every child. Keep bringing your organization's vision to the forefront and keep drawing attention to that. Okay. CBM stands for curriculum based measurement. Yeah. There are many curriculum based measurement tools, and CBM and Fable are some of them. I will put my email address later on, and you feel free to get in touch with me, or feel free to get in. Maybe Simran, what I can do is I can send across a list of resources, and you can send it out to whomever has attended this session. Yeah, with a list of screening tools that you can use, especially for the Indian setting. Okay, so that's the first bubble, which is setting direction. That's so important as leaders. The next thing that I want to take you into is human development. Um, I'm a teacher at Gateway, and it's on the ground. While inclusion is what we want to do, it's very challenging, and we need to have many tools in our toolbox. Um, as school leaders, we need to figure out how we can build the capacity of everybody in school to learn to serve all students. I'm going to share with you some of the practices that we do at Gateway. Of course, we have workshops. Workshops to are something that people do. uh, I mean that we structure through the year, and we encourage people to attend. Of course, we have webinars like this. We encourage people to attend different webinars, but workshops and webinars and things like that, they they do only so much to help you with learning. The most amount of learning takes place on the ground, when somebody comes into the classroom and actually helps you execute that plan. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. In chat, can you write, and you, more than yes, you'll have to be more explicit, so that because I can understand what you're saying. um, can you write if you have coaches at your school, coaches and a mentoring system? Can you write in chat if you have that? Okay. While I see the answers in chat, um, the other one, I'll talk to you about coaching and mentoring. Okay, so a little bit more than yes. I'm assuming Sandhya is saying yes and Baljit is saying yes to the coaching. Yeah. So say yes, we have coaches or something like that. So I know which question you're answering. Thank you. Um, uh, Coaches are one of the best ways to um, support working with all students. They are hands on, right? They come into your classes and they help you. So as school leaders, I'm glad many, not a counselor is not a coach. A coach comes into your classroom and guides you and sits with you and helps you with your planning and helps you with your execution. um, Excellent. So I see many people have coaches. Coaching has been one of the best ways that has helped us at Gateway serve all students, because you need to have somebody to problem solve with you. The other structure that we have, and so somebody is saying no, they don't have coaches. That might be something you want to look into, sir, and maybe see if you have senior teachers. Yes, excellent. Senior teachers are assigned the roles of mentoring. That's wonderful. Okay, so coaching is one big structure that we've seen has been super helpful. Another big structure is PLC, or professional learning communities. Professional learning communities are when teachers get together and they talk about students in their class, they talk about lesson plans, they talk about what is working and what needs to change, and they may even study together. Professional learning communities are organized by the organization. I mean, they have set structures, and maybe they happen once a week or once in 2 weeks. Can you please write in chat if you have professional learning communities? Don't just write yes. Say yes, I have PLCs, or no, I don't have PLCs. Yes, we conduct PLCs. Excellent. So Nishat's organization conducts PLCs. Wonderful. Samruddhi, I don't know if this is for PLC or for this thing. So you want to clarify. Richa says yes. A special educator can be a coach, but very often they don't play a role of a coach. A coach needs to have a very specific role. They need to know that they're going to work with the teacher, come into class, execute. All right. So, two structures that we have at Gateway that we see are super, super helpful. One is coaching and mentoring, and the other is professional learning community. I see many people may not have professional learning communities, and I would strongly encourage Seema. It doesn't matter how small your organization is, you can still have a PLC. A PLC can be done with three teachers also. It just needs to be built into the structure. But I would strongly, strongly recommend that you do PLCs. At PLCs, what we discuss are data, student data. We discuss strategies, we discuss challenges that we are facing, and it's been one of the best learning. We pick up books and we study the new strategies. It's been one of the best ways to learn as an organization. Okay, so two structures. The third structure, all right, that we have is what we call IPDIP. That's our gateway term. It's individualized professional learning goal. Just like you have an IEP for a student, you have individual professional learning goals for teachers. I have a question about how to make a PLC. I'm so sorry. The webinar is so short, I can't get into it, but it's something you can Google, and there are tons and tons of information about how to set up a PLC. If you need any support, I'm happy to reach out to you. But honestly, PLCs are available all around. Just Google it. And I extend an invitation to anybody who's interested in observing the structures we have at Gateway. Please drop me a line, and I'm happy to have you come in and observe the structures if you're interested. Okay, so coming to individualized professional learning goals. Each teacher at Gateway has their own goals that they set for the year. About um, anything that they feel that they need to work on more. So it could be a strength based goal, so something that they feel they're really good at and want to get better, or it could be something that they feel they're struggling at and want to learn. Um, Can I have quickly in chat if anybody has individualized professional learning goals? Please say, yes, I have individual goals, or no, I do not have individual goals. If you're interested, just you'll have to drop me an email, yeah, then I can connect you. So some people have individualized goals. That's excellent. All right. So there are three structures at Gateway that we find really help with capacity building: coaching, professional learning communities, and individualized professional goals for every teacher. Uh, our teachers make their goals in the beginning of the year, and they present it to the whole team at the end of the year, where they actually document how they have reached the goals. And these are some structures that we find super helpful, especially in supporting learners with difficulties. The other structure that we have, and this is where instructional leadership comes in. So, as leaders, as school leaders, you can't be just in an administrative role. You have to be hands on, and you have to understand what is happening, the challenges that are happening. Things that have really worked for us are where we highlight successes. It's so different, it's so difficult when you're trying to serve a diverse range of learners, right? It can be very challenging. And so what you want to do is you want to highlight anything that is that has worked. And that's what we do in our meetings. So we acknowledge when a teacher does something, and we share our practices. So we have you can do it at the professional, at the PLCs, or you can do it at your whole school meeting, where we share practices and we say, hey, you know what, I tried this tool was really good. I've given you two snapshots of the kinds of discussions that we have at our meetings. um, Highly recommend that this is something that you do in your meetings. If you haven't, build it in as a structure. So somebody can talk about, like, here they're talking about Mentimeter as a tool. If some of you have tried that, some people have are working on some other strategy that worked, and we all share that, and then other people get to learn from what we have. All right. So that's two bubbles that I talked about. The first that I talked about was the shared vision and high expectations and that transformational leadership. The second that I talked about was this building capacity and instructional leadership, where you have to know the challenges and you have to give everybody the support that they need in order to serve. And finally, I want to talk to you about organizational development. What can you do? What systemic structures can you put in place? So, these are some of the structures that are really helpful at Gateway. I'll talk to you about them. The first structure is an advisory model. So, we have homeroom teachers at Gateway. Um, every every child has an advisor. It's not the special educator, it's their teacher. And this advisor is responsible for ensuring success of that student in all aspects of their learning. So this advisor um, connects with the families, connects with the student, connects with other teachers of the student, and make sure the student gets what they need to be successful. This has really worked for us um, in at Gateway, because it's this one person that's responsible for so many things, and for ensuring that success all around. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about a structure is an advisory model. The second thing is collaborative planning. One sec. Okay. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I've found this on the. Sorry. Okay. The second thing is collaborative learning space, planning spaces. Now, it's inclusion and working with kids with special needs takes a lot of effort and chat and talking among teachers. One teacher cannot do it by themselves. And so, as a school leader, you have to build in time in the day where teachers get to meet and plan together. At Gateway, we've reduced the teaching load of teachers to allow some planning time. And I would strongly recommend you do that and build it into the school day if you haven't already. Um, yeah, I'll share the presentation with you. That's not a problem. Okay. Um, advisory model, collaborative learning spaces. Somebody has mentioned that they have. What's the difference between a mentor and advisor? A mentor is for teachers. That's what I use. But you can have a mentor for student also. So that's the word that you're using in school. That's great. That's fine. The advisor and the mentor is kind of the similar. Their role is what's important. Their role is to look and see that that student is successful and gets what they need in class, in all aspects of the school. Somebody has mentioned that they do PLCs but informally. My suggestion is make it formal. Build in a space every week, every 2 weeks. Build in a structure. In our PLCs, we have a shared agenda Every week we talk about ABC, and I would encourage you to do that and make sure it happens in your collaborative planning spaces and it's built into the system. Okay. um the next thing that I would encourage you to do, and if you, I'm sure you do that, but we really leverage is parent collaboration. So parents know students the best. They are with the child day in and day out. They know how to work with the child the best. So what we do is we invite the parent into the classroom and we say, you sit and you show us what to do. You sit and you see how we're working with the child and tell us if it makes sense or not. And the parent gives us tips on what to do. Very often, the parent comes in and shows us what to do. And that has been the best collaboration that we can have with parents. Every goal that we have is collaboratively designed by parents so that whatever is happening in school and at the home is happening together. And finally, the last thing, which I don't know if everybody can do, but I strongly encourage you, if you're a school leader and if you can make this happen, is co-teaching. So we have two teachers in all classes. Um, Mittal has said that in school you provide psychologists who handle the students, but what I would encourage you to do is to move beyond that. And you don't want the students to be just the responsibility of the psychologist. You want the students to be responsibility of every teacher. All the teachers are responsible for all the students, not just the special educator and council. That's why you see I haven't brought in that over here. We have a co-teaching model at Gateway. Um, if you're a special educator, you're not just looking at the kids with disabilities, you're looking at everybody. You come into the classroom and you co teach the session. And this has been one of the biggest learnings that we can have as teachers, because there are two heads together planning together. And it's been one of our biggest successes, a co teaching model in the classroom. Uh, we do have parents coming in. Excellent. So many people have parents coming in, and that's been a big support to us. Okay. Right. The other thing that I want to share with you is Gateway's organizational structure. At Gateway, we have a flat hierarchy. So we don't have a management pyramid. We have what we call circles of support. The child is at the center, and everybody else provides support for this child. So you'll see in the outermost circle, you'll see co principals there, but you'll also see housekeeping and administration. There's no levels over here. That's because they have to provide the most removed support for the child, right? They have to set up the systems to make everything else work. So my responsibility as a school leader is to set that strong foundation so that that child is supported. And I think that's been one of the big successes, distributive leadership. um, because innovation, it comes from different pockets. And if you set up your organization to have innovative hubs and pockets, then you allow freedom for teachers to execute and plan and to problem solve in different ways, and then you can just happily steal the wonderful strategies that they have, and you can make them steel wide. So my suggestion is to have a more distributive leadership, where it's not top down, where you are not telling, because frankly we don't know how to work with every child. So you give autonomy to the teachers to come up and problem solve on their own, and that gives you interesting strategies that you learn from, and then you can make it school wide. That's another big structure that has worked for us in the past. And finally, at Gateway, we have a multidisciplinary team. Now, I am aware that everybody may not have this, but we have an in house multidisciplinary team. And I know that some people have a counselor, special educator, that's great. When you're working with a child with special needs, maybe they have therapists that work with them, like a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist or a speech therapist. Bring them into it, have them come in and have them share what strategies work best, have them come in, have them observe classes, especially with these, like the pediatrician or stuff like that you um, you may not have in house. Invite them into your planning spaces, into your meetings. We collaborate with a lot of the therapists and tutors outside, which has been very helpful, and it's allowed us to better serve students with disabilities. Um, yes, so somebody has said it depends on management, and that's why this is a school leader session. So I'm talking to management to say, this is something that you want to look into. All right. So with that's my slides for the session. Um, I want to open this up now to questions from you, and I'll try and answer as best as I can.
Thank you, Dr. Radhika. I would request the participants to put in their questions on the chat box, and I'll read it out to ma'am, and then ma'am would be able to answer them. Uh, there are some requests for your email address. Once you write to team at CENTA, sir, we can provide you with the same. I hope that's fine, ma'am. So please write to team at CENTA so that we can know that we don't want to broadcast her email address. So if you want us want the email address, we'll definitely share it with you. Please write a request to team at centa.org. Um, there are a lot of thank yous. Okay, so there's a question by Syed Riaz, and he wants to know how is holistic development possible in children with special needs.
How is holistic development possible? Same for any other child. Uh, I Your program should always be holistic. Your program should always be more than academics. At Gateway, we adopt a strength-based approach to learning. You keep your expectations high, and you support students all round.
Okay. Uh, there's a request, not a request, but a question by Jaffet Tembo. He or she wants to know, how do we support or incorporate senior children, like children from like grade 11 and 12, to, you know, into such an environment at a such later stage.
Yeah. So we, I think it's the same philosophy. So I always start with high expectations, and then say, okay, this is we at Gateway we only have age appropriate groups. So we don't combine a student who is like, say, 8 years old with a 12-year-old. We never do that. So 12-year-olds are with 12-year-olds, irrespective of where they are in terms of their academic outcomes. But it's the same thing. You say, okay, this is where you need to reach. So what do I need to give you in order to reach there? What are the support that I need to give you? So for example, some of our students have readers, some of our students have writers, some of our students maybe staggering papers over time, different ways that allows them to achieve what they need. When you're working on a topic, some students may just get the big idea, and then some students may take an extension. So for some students, maybe the big idea is just good. It's That's what they will capture, but at least that they're learning the same thing, right? So they get the big idea, and other students go more in depth. That's how you differentiate for students. But age wise grouping is very, very important.
There's a question. I'll rephrase it by Isha Shivaram, and she wants to know if that, like, I'll rephrase a question and to say that how do we do individual, or how do we, strategize about individualized plans in a mainstream school where a class strength is about 50 students per teacher? How do we then follow such a plan for all our learners?
Good question. So the first is to look at accommodations. That's what you'll do. That's your first step to help students access the curriculum. And then the individualized goals is where your special educator or counselor comes in, and they help individualize. And when you don't have that, even a parent comes in. So we work very closely with the parents, and we do home programs with parents for the individualized goals. But what you can do as a teacher is you make sure that your um, grade level, your accommodations are in place. And as a school leader, what you need to do is make sure that the teachers can avail of all these structures. So for example, if the child needs an accommodation of a computer, as a school leader you have to provide that infrastructure.
Okay, I'll just look at other questions. Uh, what Manorama ma'am wants to know is how do you differentiate between a psychologist or a counselor and coaches and mentors? Like, how do we differentiate between them? Because generally, what we see is when there is a special needs child in the classroom, it generally is assigned to a counselor.
Yeah, and that's not inclusion, that's not inclusion when you say that one child has to be taken care of by somebody else. That's not inclusion. So the difference is in the role. When a counselor and special educator comes in, most likely they're only working with that one child. I think I'm back, right? Okay. But when a coach is working, they're working with the teacher to say how does a teacher accommodate that child in the classroom rather than with that child. They're working with you as the teacher and saying, okay, you need to set up this structure in your class so that that child will be more successful. And that's the role of the coach and mentor. Does that clarify it? I hope.
Yeah. Bindana ma'am wants to know, is there anything like it's too late now?
Oh, no, never, never, never at all. You just have to change your strategy every time. So you have to start where the child is today, adopt a strength-based approach, and then say where now. What's the best way to build an inclusive setting? As I told you, in general, what we found is with the older years, you have to make a choice about the kind of program that they're going to do. So, at Gateway, we do that because it's very unfair to make a child work 7 8 years for a 10th grade certificate. It's doesn't make sense to me. So sometimes we with the family we take a decision that, sorry, just give me a second. With the family we take a decision to say maybe this is a better, more appropriate track. But never, we never look at it. Wherever the child is, wherever they start, you start from there. Wherever they come to you, you start from there.
Chitra ma'am wants to know if you can share some examples of accommodation, and do they have any certain criteria for selection or an age group, etc., that you can introduce them at?
Good, good question. So, see, different boards have different accommodations. Okay. So, you need to, as school leaders, you need to know what is the board your school offers and what are the accommodations that you offer. So, if you go to MDA Mumbai, this website MDA Mumbai, you'll get the accommodations available for multiple boards like IGCSE, ICSE, CBSE, and Maharashtra State Board. But just ask around, read your syllabus, and you'll find out what is the accommodations. Based on that, you can decide what accommodations your children can get. So for I'll give you an example. At Gateway, we have two boards. We have the NIOS board and we have the IGCSE board. Now, the IGCSE for English as a subject, the IGCSE board does not let students take a sorry. The IGCSE board does not let students get a writer, but they let you get a computer reader. So we have students learn how to use a computer reader, but we spend a lot of time on teaching them how to type out and with no spell, like on their spellings. Now, the NIOS board allows you to have a human reader and writer. So, with that, if a child is going there, then we give them that accommodation straight off. So you but the, and the IGCSE board allows you to take breaks in your in the class. So we do that also. We allow students to take breaks. So depends totally on where you're finally going, and accordingly we help students, because it's if you throw an accommodation at a student, they're not going to be able to do it immediately. So you have to work with students, have them learn. But what I have found in my experience is many schools don't even give that accommodation, even though it's available. So, as school leaders, you have to know the accommodation and 100% give that accommodation, because it's there for a reason.
Related, like a question related to this is, what if there are no resources in the school? Like, generally, when we think of introducing such things, we think a lot of budget requirement, etc., which of course is not true. Like, simple things also help us help our children accommodate to the surroundings. So, can you give some examples as to what are those non-budgetary things that will help students?
Yeah. So a simple thing like if your student is struggling to read, all right, but you want your child to stay in class, just partner that student with a more competent reader and have that other student read to that student. So, give the student the notes ahead, Xerox the notes and give it to them ahead of time. These are very simple accommodations, don't require any sort of tech, just planning ahead of time.
Seema ma'am wants to know, how do we make students with special needs comfortable in a classroom where their peers might not require any assistance from the teacher?
Yeah, frankly, I don't know if that's true. In my opinion, all students, is a range, it's neurodiversity. So just because a child has been labeled, they're not the only child that needs something. Actually, all students need different things. So that's what I meant by transformational leadership. You have to lead by vision. You have to start talking about how we're diverse, and each one of us gets what we need in the classroom. Universal design for learning is something that I would highly encourage all leaders to look into, and talk to your students about the attitudes, and how each one of us is different and each one of us needs to be respected for that. So I don't think it's only for kids with special needs. I think it's for everybody. Every child needs to know that we're different. Every child needs to be respected for who they are.
Uh, Another question that I'm just trying to rephrase is, what about when we are in an online environment, right? There is something that we peer reading, etc., can be done when you are in a physical environment, when there is a child to sit down with you, a peer to sit down with you. What are the probably there are a lot of challenges in an online classroom. So how do we, if you can share some examples as to how we can deal with that,
An
then.
online setting is actually the best, because you got a computer reader straight off. You got all your tech tools at your beck and at your disposal. So many, many, many tech tools that you can use for reading, writing, anything, speech to text. So many. You've got breakout rooms that you can use. Online, if you're online, that means the child had a device and then you can do stuff. So actually, I mean, like in the beginning when Gateway started online, it was challenging, but then we found actually in many ways it was quite there were differentiation was very, very easy. Like I could give one child one PDF, one child one something to read, and very quickly find something else for another child immediately, because it was all soft copies of it, so you can differentiate very easily in an online setting.
I think that brings us to the end of the questions. There's a question by, I'm not sure if it's a question or a clarification. Pratna ma'am wants to know, is this special provision that we are calling is basically equity that we are practicing?
Well, it is equity, but it's also the accommodations would be equity. My preference is first UDL, so universal design for learning, and then equity, and then getting every child what they need. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. I think that's the end of the questions that I could find on the chat box. Uh, I would also hold you on for 2 minutes and add my colleague Purvi to the screen. And Purvi, if you can introduce Radhika ma'am and the entire cohort of school leaders about the initiative that we are taking forward with this webinar.
Sure. Thank you so much. Hi, Radhika ma'am. Pleasure to hear you, and it was so great to listen to you. And also, I could see a lot of comments which were saying it was a very great and insightful session. And the last part where I joined in, I mean, I learned a lot in the last 5 minutes myself. So thank you so much. And good evening, everyone. Namaste. My name is Purvi. I'm part of the CENTA Business Development team. And I've joined this session tonight to share with all of you a very special thing that we at CENTA are launching. And with the new year, we decided we want to do something new with our school leaders and the school leaders community. So we'll be launching a new format, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and love for all of you to join. And the new format is basically a roundtable format for school leaders. So I'll just share my screen. Let me. Uh, okay. Simran, can you just okay, wait, I think I got it. Um, okay, I'll just be sharing my screen. If you can see it, please let me know. I'll need a confirmation
You
from.
can see your screen, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we are very, very happy to announce that we are launching the CENTA SL Roundtable. It's a new kind of thing that we are looking to experiment with, where we love for all the school leaders to participate. And as you have the webinars on Mondays of every month, so we are having on a different Monday, probably the last Monday of every month at the same time, 5 to 6 p.m., we'll be hosting the SL Roundtable, where we'd love to have all of the school leaders join us. It will not be a streaming format like you have currently for the webinar, where we have someone come in ma'am today came in as a facilitator, and she was talking about today special needs of special children. So it will not be like that. In this format, everybody will be joining in on a Zoom call, and basically everybody is free to join into the discussion, participate, share their learnings, and share their experiences. So this is what we are hoping to launch, and the very first session will be held on 31st of January, which is the last Monday of this month. And we'd love for all of you to participate. So yeah, Simran, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so you can register for this roundtable on My Center again, like you do for all the webinars. At this time, I would like to thank Dr. Radhika for a very engaging and informative session for our community of school leaders. I'm sure we are all taking away many insights and strategies to implement in all of our organizations. Thank you so much, participants. Thank you, Purvi, for joining us today. And to register for more upcoming school leader webinars and roundtables, please visit My Center. I think we are on time dot at 6, and we're trying to close this session now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again for joining. Bye. Thanks.